Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Lachlan.
Today, we remember the year 2022, and we discuss some of those films that came out. More specifically, Ewan and I will discuss our top 10 films of the year, and maybe a couple of them that just missed out.
There's heaps of honorable mentions on my side. I ended up watching 320 films this year. So a lot to discuss that didn't make it. There's also a lot to discuss that's really not worth making our list. But let's cue up that intro and get into the show. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there.
Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
Well, welcome back, Lachlan. It's a new year. We are recording this
It is.
on New Year's Day, I guess.
Day
We're
one.
both a bit hungover. Yes, day one of 355. No, 365. I'm not that hungover.
365? The sequel?
I just added, subtracted 10 days. That's, yeah, you won't get those 10 days. I'm taking them away in 2023. I need them a bit to recharge. But no, we are back. And now that the year has wrapped, it's no better time to be talking about everything that released in 2022. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to take a brief moment to, I guess, talk about 2022 and kind of remind you, Lachlan, that at the start of last year now, we weren't even doing video, and I cannot picture the show not being with video now. A lot has changed. Towards the end of the year, I've been kind of figured out a bit more how to grow on the channel, and we got some private goals that we set for us for this next year. We'll definitely be doing more stuff, more than ever, with live streams, with additional videos each week, not just the one podcast that we do a week. So it's an exciting time. Yeah, I think one thing that we can tease, or one of two things, we'll get to the other one, which involves the both of us. I've really been enjoying, to me, the highlight has been starting this new series called Four Favorites. Definitely not stolen from Letterboxd, by the way. But doing that, inviting guests and chatting about films that we usually don't get to because we always focus on the latest stuff. We get to take a look back and maybe appreciate something about horror, something about animation. So I want to tease the next few themes that are coming up in the Four Favorites lineup. 3 months back to back, we'll be having new episodes of Four Favorites. First, in February, we're doing the romance / I'd even allow rom-coms to be in there, everything in the romance genre, in favor, I guess, of Valentine's Day and that really romantic month, I'd say. And then in March, to celebrate the release of the Creed 3 film, we'll be taking a look at sports films. And then in April, with the Super Mario Bros. Movie, we'll be chatting about video game movies. There's not that many, and there's not that many good ones. There's even an argument to be made there's not a singular good one, but I think
It'll
the
be four
conversations are just going to be...
video game movies for that month.
Exactly, yeah, something like that. For the least disappointing favorites that month. Doesn't roll off the tongue as easily. But yeah, that's that. We got even more planned for the rest of the year, but I'm really looking forward to those. But taking a break in January from for that series, but more to come here. And then, Lachlan, do you wanna do you wanna tell them what we set as a goal for 2023 as a whole when it comes to this YouTube channel?
I like how we're saying this is what we're going to do, even though for a good quarter of the year I was already doing this.
Right.
We just want to hit a couple of subscriber goals. We're going for 5k subs. We'll just shave our heads, buzz cut them. I was gonna make a Schindler's List joke about buzz cutting heads, but I feel like that's not appropriate now that it's coming out of my mouth. So
yeah.
Look, 5k subs, we're going to shave our heads. That's the goal.
Simple enough.
That we're setting at 5k. Who knows where that goes? We'll keep setting goals that we want to keep hitting. That's the idea. But we've just recently figured out that, podcasts are fun.
People can subscribe.
People can subscribe. We've discovered YouTube as an option instead of just podcasting. I mean, how long have we been doing this for now, Ewan? Like 3 years?
It's coming up. Yeah, we started in 2023. This is the 3 years. It's been 3 years. Well, coming up
20
on the third year now. I can't do math, so I don't know how long. Time, we did it all 2020, 2021, 2022. Yeah, no, this is the 4th year we're doing this. It's been a
My
long time.
gosh. 4 years
Jesus
of
Christ,
this,
yeah.
and we still do it out of the love of it. Really,
Why?
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think Ewan and I would have. I don't know. I don't know how much of a conversation, how much we would have kept in contact, I should say, with each other if we
Yeah.
didn't do this podcast. It's kind of made us keep in communication since leaving the Gold Coast, where we were studying film together, and then we went our
Exactly, yeah.
separate ways. And now look at us. Look at us.
Yes.
The Paul Rudd meme.
Look at us. We still got hair at the moment, but if you subscribe,
Yeah.
we might lose it. And also, I think this year might be monumental for because we're trying to both get into the Gun Film Festival, and if we manage to do that, this will be the first time in 3.5, 4 years that we get to hang out in person again. I got a long list of stuff that I won't leak here, but a long list of stuff that I kind of want to film and do with you when we can do something in person.
I know the
heaps of ideas
OnlyFans
in my
idea
head.
isn't happening, you, and we've already discussed this.
Okay, I said I wasn't gonna tell them, but I guess you kind
Okay,
of let
okay.
them know now. But yeah, you get that for free on my private Instagram channel. But anyways, so a lot of promising stuff in 2023. That's just fun for us, and yeah, we give you a bit of an incentive if you end up hitting that subscriber goal. We'll give you something of ours, our hair, which is also really weird. Now I'm thinking over, but maybe I'll then, because I like wearing hats, but I'm
We wouldn't
I'm
even
in
be able to
desperate
tell.
need of a
Ewan.
haircut. Yeah,
You always
maybe I
wear
don't
hats.
have hair this whole time. I won't let you know. Maybe I've been bald this whole time. But yeah, that's that. Let's head on over to the quick news, which is basically at the moment just our Avatar 2 box office tracker. The movie is currently already the 23rd highest grossing movie of all time. That puts
Goddamn.
my prediction already in the dust, because I said this movie will land somewhere probably between like 30th and 25th in overall ranking. Well, I'm already off there, and it's still in theaters. Across the billion, it's currently heading towards 1.2 or 1.3 billion. And yeah, Lachlan, I just wanted to get your prediction. And where do you think this movie will land after it's done in theaters? You know, not considering that it will re-release whenever we get a new Avatar film. Where do you think this theater run will land it on the overall highest grossing movies list?
I reckon it could just. I mean, I don't know what the list is in terms of highest grossing. I do think it's going to
I
hit
linked it here
the
if you want
the
to
one.
have a look at it.
I just saw 1 point. I think it
Mm.
will break possibly into the top like 15. I really do think it is going to pass that 1.4 mark. Whether it gets to 1.6, which is where you're kind of going to get into the top 10, I'm not 100% sure, but there's still a good chance that it re-releases, has a big boom, and up it goes. But I think somewhere within, spot number 16, 15, between 17 and 15 is where it's going to land.
17 and 15, which would land at just around 1.3 billion. I think it's gonna make a bit more. I'm now seeing the film.
Top 10. Top 10.
I think it's also gonna be a top 10 movie, which is surprising to me. I thought this movie could really underdeliver, but it's been doing really well internationally. Interestingly enough, there's another film that released in 2022, Top Gun Maverick, that's at the 11th spot right now. But it's interesting because like it's half and half with domestic and international gross. Domestic for the States, and that's just so rare. I think it's the other than Endgame and Avatar, it's one of Star Wars also did more. I'm lying. But it's doing really well just domestically. That one, and like that's not the case for Avatar, that made most of its money internationally. So we'll have to wait and see, but I also think it's gonna be like a top 10 movie, which good for James Cameron doing more of these probably. But yeah, that's all I had for the news. Really quick news as my cat jumps up the cat tree. And let's head on over to what we've been watching. Lachlan, you told me you went on a bit of a haul. You were kind of a bit late
sorry
for this
I was late to the recording.
And now, yes, okay. You got
Sorry.
something to show me off. It's hall day at the kindergarten of the Quiet on Set podcast.
I went shopping for more DVDs and Blu-rays.
Do I see Old Boy there?
Yes, you did. I don't want to spoil anything
Spike
right
Lee's?
now. Yes.
Of
Look,
course.
obviously it's coming to the end of 2022, so we had to catch up on a whole bunch of films. There was a couple of them that I couldn't get my hands on, and some of them just recently released on DVD, and also some of them came out ages ago that I just didn't, catch, and then I realized, oh shit, it's on DVD. But there's a few in here that I've seen before that I saw that were on 4K and Blu-ray that I had to grab. But before I get to those, just there's basically 3 categories that these are being broken down into. 2022 films, stuff I want to rewatch really quickly before a new film comes out by that director, and then also just stuff to add to my collection because there's absolute classics. The 3 that I want to watch from 2022 are going to be Moonage Daydream, the David Bowie documentary, and the reason is the last film I watched in 2022 was a doco, so I feel like I did miss out on some docos.
A doco?
The other one was 3...
Yeah,
doco.
that expression. I didn't...
Well, you ever heard of a doco before?
No, I've never heard of a doco. I always learn new Australian expressions, and I love them each time.
Oh,
but
yeah,
a doco,
okay.
I'll add that to my vocabulary.
This movie by
George Miller.
3000 Years of Longing. I didn't hear the greatest of reviews about it, and I guess it didn't really stand the same test of time that Mad Max Fury Road did, but still want to watch it.
This mic.
And the other one is
in the
Crimes.
background.
Yeah, Crimes of the
Sorry,
Future,
I just had to flag.
which was
also
the
saw this
David
I'll
Cronenberg
shut up.
film. I didn't get to see this at Cannes because I'm not a fucking douchebag that goes to Cannes.
This year, though.
Maybe. Yet.
Yes.
Babylon's coming out, so I wanted to catch up on a couple of these films. I've already got First Man, but I didn't have La La Land or Whiplash on Blu-ray,
Fun.
so I decided to get them on Blu-ray. I couldn't get the 4Ks, which suck, but I wanted to get them on Blu-ray anyway. And then finally, Ewan, this is where you're going to get quite happy because couple of films that I wanted to catch up on. This one came out recently, and I heard some awesome stuff about it. Mad God, an animated film. Haven't had the chance to look at any trailers, but I heard a lot of great things about it.
Yeah, great stuff.
And a couple of classics, one of which I've never seen before, and I decided to grab, and you will like it. So the first 2 I've seen before, but 4K remastered. Mulholland Drive, David Lynch.
Oof.
After seeing him in the Fabelmans, I had to grab one of his films and rewatch him. Then, Ewan, you spoiled yourself. Old Boy in a beautiful little collector's little DVD in the Blu-ray. It's not a 4K. I tried to see if there's a 4K with Blu-ray. And finally, classic remastered, same as Mulholland Drive. Kurosawa.
Oh, Kurosawa. Okay, impressive. I haven't even seen this.
Never seen a Kurosawa film.
Oh, okay.
Well, I have, but only during to study it, but I've never sat down and watched one. I'm probably going to give this a watch.
My little brother, of all people, keeps egging me on to do an Akira Kurosawa marathon because we watched Ikiru about 2 years ago, and I think I also watched Rashomon with him. And he was like, oh my God, I don't get film. Please watch more.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to give them the proper time. And I feel like they definitely deserve to be streamed in the best possible version.
Which is why when I saw it was on 4K, I was like,
yeah, that's amazing, man.
That's obviously not it, because obviously behind me, you can see the greatest movie of the year, Morbius, sitting right there.
I'm not zooming in. I'm setting boundaries for 2023.
For my top 10 list... For my top 10 list, I do have a bunch of DVDs and 4Ks. Actually, they're all 4Ks of my top 10 stuff. Now, not everything's on DVD yet, but I tried to get as much of it as I possibly can, which is why I was only showing the top of those DVDs. But we shall continue on. Ewan, you tell me what you have been watching, or catch me up on what you've caught yourself up on.
I think we recorded the last time before Christmas. We pre-produced our Banshees of Inisherin review. And funnily enough, Banshees main episode ended up being shorter than just review of Knives Out. Funny thing that happens when we want to do short reviews that end up 40 minutes long. But regardless, I took Christmas Day, the 25th, I think that's Christmas Day, right? To watch a whole bunch of films because I was gearing up to do the ultimate 2022 movie bracket live stream that already happened. You can go check it out on my YouTube channel. And I went over 320 releases, and I had to add some more films to the list. So I ended up watching I Want to Dance with Somebody, RRR, The Outfit, spoiler alert, The Abysmal Marmaduke, Descendant, I also saw Fire of Love, and the movie you just put up there as your Blu-ray, Moon Age Daydream. Ended up catching Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes, a little festival short, Devotion, the lesser Top Gun Maverick fighter pilot film, and Happening, a festival darling about abortion in the 60s, a French film to round it all out. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil what ended up winning the bracket because it would maybe kind of spoil what ends up at my top slot, I guess, here. But I made 3 brackets, one for the best films, one for the worst films, and one for the most mid films. And it was a blast. I was there for more than 4 hours, Lachlan. It was exhausting. And then it was very exhausting. By the end of it, I didn't have any energy in me because I ended up talking about literally every film and kind of wanted to introduce them. It takes forever to talk about 320 films, Lachlan. I can tell you now from experience. It does. Did the same thing yesterday with TV shows. I watched about 82 seasons this year, a record high for me as well. 82 seasons of new TV, by the way. I watched some older stuff as well. So really busy year. I'm definitely keeping that up in the next year. But that's all I've been watching. Literally what I've been watching. It's just a shit ton. So go check that out if you want to get my extensive thoughts. Well, there's a 4-hour recording of me talking about a range of films there. But that's that. And I think without further ado, Lachlan, we can get into our top 10 of 2022. I don't know about you. I feel like for you, it was also a record high of new movies that you probably ended up watching just because I make you each week for this show. So for me, it was very busy. Like I said, I ended up catching over 300 films. And making a list like this, there's 2 problems. First of all, you obviously can't have them all on your top 10, even if you liked it. So there's going to be a whole bunch of honorable mentions that we'll get to in a second. But first, Lachlan, I kind of want to know from you, what are some films that maybe didn't get a release date yet? You didn't get to yet. Films that you think could make it onto your top 10 list, but you haven't seen just yet.
This is the hard thing about making top 10 lists about certain years, like in the years beforehand, because I've had in my previous years films that just came out afterwards, so I've made them a little bit later. But today on the podcast, we're going to have to obviously discuss what's coming out. So there's a couple of films I missed, or a couple of films I haven't been able to see yet. The ones I haven't been able to see yet, The Whale, that doesn't come out till February here in Australia. Babylon doesn't come out to the end of January in Australia. There's a couple of other films that I wish I could have seen that just didn't make it. There's also a couple of films, as I just said beforehand, that I didn't get to catch in 2022. It's a lot of films. I don't have as much free time that Ewan does, and I don't get to go to as many festivals as Ewan does, and that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. I don't get to see as many films, but maybe that's easier for me to make my top 10 list. Maybe it's harder because I've seen less films, which means that it's a smaller pool, and that means I've seen higher quality stuff because most of the time Ewan's not going to suggest shit films. Like when I said I've got to get, I've got to go see this film, and he was like, don't even bother about this one. You should watch this one instead. So Ewan, there's a couple of films that you told me to go watch that I have not been able to see yet. Aftersun, that's one I haven't been able to see. Decision to Leave, one I haven't been able to see. Close, the one that you saw at the festival, I haven't been able to see that yet as well. There's just a number of films that I just missed, but that's okay. I'll eventually get to them, and my letterbox list will be updated if they make it into my top 20, because my top 10 list of 2022 also has the other 10 films that I consider that just missed out, which I haven't done in the past. I've always just done top 10 and that's it. But I'd like to have these in here for films that just made it, but not enough. Not enough.
Well, let us know. What are those honorable mentions that didn't make it onto your final list?
So, in no particular order, that's how I did my other top 10 on the list, which I'll probably rearrange into a more coherent order, but here is how I labeled them out. Essentially, in the horror category, I didn't think anything stood out as much as one particular film, which is in my top 10. And, you can consider a couple of the films in my top 10 horror as well, but Scream and X were two excellent horror films, especially as Scream is a sequel, and that is a very hard thing to do. Horror sequels just are never good. And it's also the year that we had one of the worst movies of all time, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I've got to drop the the. So Scream came out and did something that was fun and, original enough in the idea of meta horror. Speaking of original and new, X came out and was an absolute blast by T.I. West. That film honestly took me by surprise, and I'm yet to see the prequel/sequel Pearl, which is another film that I'd like to go watch because I had such a great time watching X. Mia Goth is a wicked actress, and also Jenna Ortega, little breakout role in the horror world, and it's been her year. So those are two films that I missed out on. In the kind of category of, heart aching, oh my God, I love this film genre, I guess, I have Cha-Cha Real Smooth. That film, I kept it on my radar, and when it came out, I didn't watch it, but I watched it recently and absolutely loved it. It was just a very heartwarming thing, but not as much as Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which I know is listed as a 2021 film on Letterboxd, but, it doesn't have like a worldwide release until last year, which is 2022. It was also wicked. My girlfriend loved it. I loved it. It was just such a cute, adorable movie. God, I want more movies like that. It was just so cute and I loved it. But didn't make it onto my top 10 because you'll see what my top 10 is, and it's just such a fucking sick list this year. In the category action movies that did not make it into my top 10 list, I have All Quiet on the Western Front, which I didn't really expect to get on my top 10 list when I first was going to start watching it, but then ended up being an incredible film. And Ewan, thank you for making me watch that on this podcast, because I absolutely would have not watched it if you didn't tell me to. The one I did watch that I'm surprised when I was putting together my list that wasn't in my top 10 is Bullet Train. I absolutely loved Bullet Train so much. I also got the Steelbook, which I will say is the best Steelbook of the year by far that I have gotten for my 4K collection. It is
That's a great
absolute
Steelbook.
I just dropped the DVD out of there. Absolute winner when it comes to Steelbook creation. So Bullet Train, wicked movie, but did not make it onto my top 10. In the last two categories, I didn't know how to kind of break this down, but easiest way of saying it, the cannibal films that did not make it onto my top 10 list. Fresh and Bones and All. Fresh was really, really fun and was just a fucking excellent made film. And Bones and All was this incredible drama that I also loved that was also about cannibalism. 2022 was the year of cannibalism films. Absolutely adore that. But finally, Ewan, the last two movies in how I've categorized these top 10 films that did not make it into my top 10 films.
I'm disappointed about these, by the way.
This is why I'm calling it the shocker category. The films that Ewan expected me to put in my top 10, but they are not in my top 10. And in all honesty, I could also make this category known as the Lachlan is also shocked that I did not put this in my top 10 list. Because when I was sitting down and making my top 10, I decided for once that I was just going to make a list on the films that I experienced something. Whether that be just fun, whether that just be the sheer, this is what I go to the movies for. Because in the past, my first top 10 list I made on Letterboxd was
right?
in 2019. I did a top 10 best made movies where my number one film was Parasite. And then I did a top 10 most enjoyable films, which was John Wick Chapter 3. So I kind of decided over time that I was going to conjoin these. And you can see that in my 2022 list, I have a mixture of excellent, action films of like Tenet. And I've also got, Palm Springs as in my top 10. But then I also have Minari. And I have I'm Thinking of Ending Things and Another Round and A Sound of Metal. And then in 2021, forgive me, I had The Green Knight as my number one and I had Dune as my number two. But then I also had Annette, one of the weirdest films in a long time. And I had Pig as well. So over time, I've kind of molded these. So my top 10 list is going to include films that just made me feel something. And while I thought these two films were really well made, I just didn't have a connection to them like I had with some of their previous films that these directors have made. I'm not saying these are bad films by any mean whatsoever, but The Banshees of Inisherin did not make it on my top 10 list. I'm sorry. It didn't make it onto my top 10 list. I thought it was well written, probably one of the best written films of the year. I will say that. One of the best written films of the year, hands down. Some of my favorite dialogue has come out of that film, but it did not give me that movie experience that I've had with some of these other films. And finally, The Fabelmans. Steven Spielberg's most Spielberg movie did not make it onto my top 10 list. Once again, I thought it was some wicked performances, some awesome directing by Spielberg himself. But, and also one of the best cameos of the year as well at the end. It did not make it onto my top 10 list. Those are my just missed films. You had Scream, X, Cha-Cha Real Smooth, All Quiet on the Western Front, The Fabelmans, Banshees of Inisherin, Bones and All, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Fresh, and Bullet Train. They're my just missed out on the top 10 movies of 2022.
I honestly am really surprised about Banshees. For Fabelmans, I wasn't really expecting it that much to be on your final top 10, because I know you're not the biggest fan of Spielberg, and although this is a great film, I just see that it's not really... But the Banshees thing, man, that kind of stings. I'm not gonna lie. But to me, I'm going to do the same thing. The films I've missed that I still think could make it onto my top 10 list are Women Talking, Babylon, and The Quiet Girl. So I'll be able to catch up on these quite soon, but just not in time for, I guess today's recording. But there's also 10 films that I think I have a bit less than 10 films that I have here. A couple of films that didn't make it onto my final list, that maybe one or the other will make it onto Lachlan's. But I have a bit of an overlap, at least when it comes to the films that just barely missed out. I also got All Quiet on the Western Front as an honorable mention. Cha-Cha Real Smooth as well. Real festival highlight back at Sundance. Managed to catch that one like twice at the festival. So that was a really pleasant surprise that it's kind of gone under, I think, as the year moved on, just because it's been so long, but really a sleeper hit for anyone who's been sleeping on it. I also got The Batman on here, and Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Those really go together well, right? Decision to Leave, I was surprised that that one didn't make it onto my list, but here we are. Park Chan-wook didn't make it on here. Then the comedy Bros I got here, probably other than something that we'll get to later with my favorite comedy of the year, is really something solid that I enjoyed quite a bit. And some more people should go check out Vortex from Gaspar Noé, a study on dementia, told through two different perspectives. There's like they're fighting for your attention as like you got two cameras capturing the same thing. It's really an interesting film. Finally, I'm sorry, I'm gonna leak it, but The Northman is in my honorable mentions, but we'll get to talking about that film just in a bit again. So Vortex, Northman, Decision to Leave, All Quiet on the Western Front, Bros, Cha-Cha Real Smooth, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, and The Batman are my honorable mentions for 2022. 2022. So, Lachlan, without further ado, let's get to those films in 2022 that we consider the best of the year. And let's kick it off with your number 10 film.
Number 10 from me was one of those films which I thought was going to be in my top 10 immediately from watching it. Because it was just a shocker. You know, I'd seen the original and I was like, that's an awesome film. But I wonder what they were going to do next. And I heard of the cinematography and how they kind of strapped a camera and made a camera so small that it was going to fit in a fighter jet. And I thought, what kind of shots are they going to do? And my God, was it one of the best thrill rides very early on into the 2022 run, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
My number one. Oh my God, jumping straight to the gun. My number 10 pick of 2022 was Top Gun Maverick. Here it is on 4K.
He's got the 4K.
Right here, I've got the 4K. Incredible film. Really, really fun. You know, if you talk to Lachlan from, 5 years ago, there's no way I would have put Top Gun Maverick on my top 10 list. I would have been that artsy snob that would have gone, oh, look at this beautiful film, made by this French director and how gorgeous he tells us. That Lachlan is dead. Lachlan, who enjoyed Top Gun Maverick, was losing his mind. This film was just so much fun. Yes, there's plenty of flaws I can find in this film. The fact that there's really no antagonist and it's such a blank slate of who the villain is and what country it is, it's definitely Switzerland.
It's Switzerland still.
I'm not going to nitpick. I could, but I'm not going to. But Top Gun Maverick just did something so fun. It made me want to get back to the cinemas. Now, it's not my blockbuster of the year. It's not. It was going to be, for the longest time, the blockbuster of the year, but we'll get to what it was. Because it was technically the second blockbuster where I was like, wow, I'm blown away by this. But the first blockbuster comes a little bit later. But Top Gun Maverick for the longest time was holding the blockbuster of the year award that I was going to give. I'm going to say that your pick for top 10 is drastically fucking different from mine. Like, so left hook out of nowhere of like the difference in our taste of our top 10 films. Ewan, what is your number 10?
I never left the artsy side behind me. I've fully embraced it, and I am the art house freak of the show. Although I don't know, because I could go even harder on this, because I don't want to look at my list because I won't find something that's not art house. I can already tell you it's not gonna be filled with blockbusters, but that's why our lists kind of work together well. I think we have 2 films that are on both of our lists. All of the other ones, we have totally different movies. So you're going to get to hear about 18 different films on this list. And mine at number 10 is Darren Aronofsky's The Whale. Really completely different from Up in the Sky, totally moving at all times, to a fat guy being stuck in a sofa the whole time. That's basically the differences here. But I just really connected with this when I don't want to keep mentioning at which festival I saw this, but it played there and it worked for me. It made me cry. It's cheesy overall, but it worked. And it's a really controversial film for a lot of people. It really doesn't work. For me, it did. And I fell in love with it, so that's why it gets my number 10 spot. And Brendan Fraser is amazing in it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's always
if it
controversial.
Didn't cause controversy. It's always a group of people didn't like it. A group of people did like it. I think I'm gonna like it because I'm in that category that likes Aronofsky films, even the ones that really divide his core fan group. I feel like Mother was a massive divide on whether people liked his stuff or not. I enjoyed it, but shall we move on?
We shall.
Number 9.
To
I don't have a disc for this one, okay? I'm really sorry that I don't have a disc for this one because
it's mainly on streaming anyways.
It's mainly on streaming, and I'd love to have it on 4K because I've got pretty much every other one of their films on 4K. But I think
it also never played in theaters, which is also notable for this one.
That's a notable one. So I decided to pull out another Predator film that you're going to just use instead, okay? My number 9 pick is Prey, and I'm using this because in this film, there's a predator. It was the closest thing I could do to getting a film with a predator and
Poor Priscilla.
Anyway.
Okay.
Prey. Number 9, Prey.
Yeah.
Oh God. Where do I start?
Ignore me.
No, it's fine. I'm a sucker for the Alien and Predator series. Doesn't matter which one it is. I love Alien.
Yeah.
I love Predator. I love the AVP series. I love the world that there is that they've created. It's just an awesome concept, especially the Predator, and even down to Predators from like 2011, I think it was, off the top of my head. I love that film. And when I heard they were doing another Predator film, and I went, oh shit, here we go. But it was going to be in like 1700, where it's a Native American based film. I went, oh fuck, you've got me. I'm definitely watching this film. And when I heard it was streaming only, all of the bad things came to my head. Oh no, it's streaming only. No movie, no theater release, no, wide scale. It's just going to be released on Hulu and it's going to be a trash film. Oh my gosh, did I have so much fun with this film. And now I just want it was kind of like God of War, when they were like, it's the God of War, but now in Norse mythology. It was like, it's Predator, but during the colonization of America. This is sick. Like, this was awesome, this film. It had great action. The Predator looked wicked. Amber Mithunder did an incredible job as the main protagonist. She just was so strong and just a wicked time. This film was not overly long as well. It was just over the hour, like 90-minute point. It was like 100 minutes or so. It was such a fun film, and it was good to finally have a piece of this IP that I was happy to have and go and hold like it was my child and go, I've missed you. Where have you gone? The good side of this IP. So I'm up for an entire next decade of Predator in X. I want it in, Napoleon's age. I want him in, Roman times. I just want this guy. I want this Predator in different centuries, just battling the greats. So
you want the 2022 Jump Street credit sequence with Prey?
Exactly.
Popping up
exactly.
Everywhere. Yeah. So let's get it done. Then Trachtenberg, I think it's the guy who did it. Do some more. This was fun. It also wicked. This is also in my. I mean, this seems low, but it's in my top 35 out of 320 films. It's actually
lovely.
Really good.
It's a good percentage.
So yeah, I second this and great pick here from you.
I talk about Predator.
Yeah.
This is another film that I didn't actually get to catch. That's your number 8, which you said I would enjoy, I believe, which I just haven't. I don't think it had an Australian release yet, so I haven't been able to catch it. Hopefully, I will be able to soon, and maybe it'll make it onto my list. But Ewan, you're number 9.
Yes, I'm sticking with the festival theme, moving from Venice to Cannes to the Palme d'Or winner from Ruben Östlund's Triangle of Sadness. This satirical take on a bunch of rich people flaunting their wealth as they go on a big old, not yacht, but I guess cruise ship. And I don't want to spoil where the movie goes, but I'd say it's told in threes. And it just kind of puts the dichotomy of service workers and the people who just are rich and take on its head. We had a couple of those released over this year. There's The Menu that came out not too long ago that kind of also tended to focus on that in an over-the-top satirical way. And I just had a blast watching Triangle of Sadness with a full theater, which is hard to get for, I keep mentioning it not to say, hey, I went to this festival and got to see a film, but it's also because there's a lot of people who tend to be interested in these types of films. And then once they hit a theater for a general release, there's maybe like 5 other people in the theater with you, and it's not the same experience there. And I don't really like public screenings for films then, but I do really like them at film festivals. That's why I enjoy it so much. And this was such a blast to see there, and it just worked like a lot. I haven't rewatched it since, so I'm not as critical as some people have been since it came out, and pointed out the flaws in the story. To me, it was just a really funny film. Overall, like, I swing from on this list, I swing from really funny films that are pleasing to watch to ones that will make me ugly cry for like 3 hours. That's the two me's that you get, nothing else. And go check out Triangle of Sadness if you can. But yeah, we are moving on from the boat to the outskirts of Paris, to a little Paris. A district in there. Can I already say what the title is, Lachlan?
By all means,
moving to a little district called Athena. Surprised to see this on the list. So, Lachlan, why did it make it yours?
As I said at the start, this year, my top 10 list is not so much like a split between best made and best most enjoyable moments. It's movies that made me feel something. Top Gun Maverick was this thrill of excitement, but then it had its down periods where it was not in the sky. Prey was this IP that I love coming back to its form, and I really enjoyed that. Athena was this rush of energy throughout the entire thing. There was just something bubbling underneath there. It was the tension. It was the fact that it was a one take that didn't feel like it was in your face, that it was used as a storytelling aspect, especially after the one take of 1917. I feel like the one take has a bit of sour taste in my mouth because it was just used as a marketing ploy more than anything, where Athena uses this like gloriously. It's gorgeous.
And I mean, it doesn't, I think it's not just a one take the entire way through.
No, it's not. It's split. It's cut down, but it's exactly, a lot of singular one takes. And
exactly, it cuts into perfect places where the one take becomes like unnecessary, where you drag it out. It finds the sweet spot. It's technically it's so well done, man.
And here is a foreign film in my top 10 list. Here we are, the artsy guy. Here I am. But once again, I don't have a DVD I don't have a DVD to kind of show. So I guess I'll have to.
Well, it's on Netflix. Another one, yeah.
Have to get one. I have another French film. Haha! I have another French film. I have a French film DVD that you can put on top of this, but you just have to put Athena on top of it, okay? Ewan, this is the only editing you have to do in this entire podcast, all right? So, Athena, I think I've already announced it, but Athena is another French film that I've just got on here, so here we are. Athena was just great. It was just a shocking surprise, once again, these films that I just had this feeling of excitement throughout the entire thing, and that was just one of them. It was just such a rumble of excitement for once, and you really start to like these characters with this kind of style of one take, and it was just a tragic story throughout the entire thing. And once again, I wouldn't have watched it if Ewan didn't tell me to watch it. The benefit of having one of your good mates watch a bajillion films throughout the year, you basically have a filter to get rid of the shit ones. Thanks, Ewan.
Yeah, Lachlan, you even watched a festival film because this premiered at Venice as well. So you
Ewan,
can say that.
What was your number 8?
Well, I'm staying with the international theme, but I'm going with a Japanese director directing South Korean actors in Broker from Hirokazu Koreeda, one of my instant favorite filmmakers after I saw Shoplifters. So amazing. It also stars Song Kang-ho from a small little movie that you might know called Parasite. And it is just such a blast. Such a blast of a film. Lachlan, I think, is grabbing his free Parasite DVDs. Yes, okay. His Blu-ray, sorry. Just still
one 4K, 2 Blu-rays.
Yeah, he's trying
4K,
to, I guess.
One Blu-ray in black and white.
Hey, all worth it. I don't have it on any sort of disc, so I'm missing out. But Broker is amazing. It's this road trip movie about people who end up stealing a baby of sorts in a way through kind of legal ways that quickly become illegal as they try to pawn it off to like someone else. But then the mother comes in the mix and wants to join along, but then she doesn't really want to keep the baby. But then maybe also she does. There's some romance in there. There's some father figures all around. It's a lot of different relationships that go on at the same time, and it's perfectly balanced by Koreeda. That's what he did so masterfully in Shoplifters already, and he just continues to do it in Broker, a really pleasant, heartwarming film that I can really wholeheartedly recommend. So, Broker at my number 8 spot.
All right, Ewan. Number 7.
Yeah.
It's a couple of things in this world that I love. 1, movies. 2, a good beer. But there's a third one as well.
It's just a bit.
Volcanoes.
Okay.
All of a sudden,
You're a
my beer
volcano
exploded.
He loves eruptions.
I love volcanoes. All of a sudden. This is the last film I watched in 2022. And holy moly. I was going to swear there, but I held myself back. Why? Because we don't want to lose this child rating that we have on this show. Hang on one second. I got beer on my fucking rating.
You know, when I talk about tar next, someone's going to dump a whole bucket of tar on my head.
Last movie of the year that I watched was Fire of Love, and it kind of made me realize I didn't watch a lot of docos this year, which is why I purchased the David Bowie documentary when I saw it today, because I saw Fire of Love, and it was awesome that this year I got to end my watching of a movie with a 5-star. It was an absolute delight watching this film. I just, funny enough, heard about it the other day, realized I hadn't watched any docos, so I thought I'd give it a watch, and my god, it's a much better start than the start of 2022 where I watched Spencer, which was still a great film, but for me to end the year with Fire of Love, this incredible documentary of Katya and Maurice Kraft. It was a beautiful story. Ewan, you just recently watched this as well.
Yeah.
I know you didn't enjoy it as much as I did because you gave it 4 stars out of 5.
It's still like literally my 35th spot.
Still a great film.
It's really high up for me. I like it a lot. It's one of the best documentaries. I might even have it ranked as, it's my highest rated documentary of the year as well. No.
Awesome. Your favorite rated what? Your most favorite rated what?
Doco. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Yeah.
But no, it was just this. It kind of had that same feeling as my octopus teacher had a few years ago, where you're like, do I want to fuck an octopus? Where in this one, I'm like, do I want to fuck lava?
I wouldn't try, but
I
wouldn't try both of those things, by the way.
It was this, I guess, tragic story. Because if you just Google them, you know how they die. But they died doing what they love, and that was interesting to just watch these two people just do what they enjoyed with this, with little fear, because there's this massive fear around volcanoes, and just to watch them dance in front of lava is just such a fascinating image. And God, they were at least Maurice, because Maurice is typically the one who was doing the film aspect of this, the recording aspect of it, where Katya was more of the stills photographer, which both of them are incredible I should say cinematographers, because the images in this film are stunning. Absolutely stunning. I thought that I was going to give best cinematography to another film, but my God, I was seriously contemplating that this, I mean, I would love to see this get nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like for the cinematography alone? Yeah.
I would love to see it for cinematography and also documentary.
Yeah. I think for a documentary, it's definitely one of the front runners. A movie that won't get mentioned on either of our lists. All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, that won the Golden Lion in Venice, is another documentary that's really great. I just realized that one's ranked a bit higher on my list than this, but both are two great docos. Sorry, I said it wrong again.
That's okay.
But Fire of Love, stunning, because they use all of the footage that Maurice and Katya recorded over the years, And there's just so much. There's never a dull moment in this documentary because they ended up doing so much. And it's hard to contain it in this, I think also not too long of a movie overall. I think it's under
90
100 minutes.
Yeah.
So a nice little breeze, well, I guess not a breeze, but a bit of a fire hazard as well over on, I think Disney Plus, it's where it's streaming. So
Yeah.
pretty available for people to go check it out as well.
My pick was fire. Your pick.
Yeah. What's left after the fire?
I guess.
I don't know if
I don't know how. I don't know how.
I don't know how Tar is made, but sticking with some Venice releases and Kate Blanchett's one of the best performances ever in this film from Todd Field, who doesn't really do a lot of films. He takes his time to do it, and this film I think gets better the more I think about it, but not as I experience it, if that makes sense, because I feel like it is a bit of a drag at parts to get through for the points that it ultimately tries to make, which essentially just makes it like that type of work of art film that, like, the further you have with it, the more you think about, the more you read about it, the more you watch about it, and then give it a rewatch, it's going to add to that. I unfortunately haven't had the rewatch time to do a rewatch for it yet, but I completely adored it even in the first run. I think it's another one that does cinematography incredibly well. It has some great like longer sequences as well as the editing, and then it just really shines in the storytelling and the performances as you follow this person who is first built up as this really important person as she's like slowly starts to crumble down. And it's been labeled a bunch of things, like a film about cancel culture, things about like power and the abuse of power, but all of that is not really possible with this film to be labeled like that clearly, because all of this stuff that it's really doing is way more subtle. That's just like the big label that it gets. The smaller labels are really just everything in between. And if you haven't yet, I know it's been topping a lot of critics like end of the year, like best film of the year as well. I wouldn't go as far, at least for my personal experience, but a really great film that I know it's not going to be for everyone, but for those cineast and indie lovers, it might just do it for you.
I think that it makes sense that it's a lot of critics' favorite film. It's definitely Oscar baity style of a
bit
film,
as well, yeah.
Where it doesn't really. I don't think it would sit in the hearts of a lot of I guess traditional just go to the cinema once a month kind of family goers. No one's going to go see Tar in cinemas. It's really kind of like the artsy film of the year that it's not
like Elvis or I Want to Dance with Somebody, although it is like technically this fake autobiographical film about this person, and it does that super well in the best sort of way possible. But instead of not showing their shortcomings, it is like doing Elvis, not by Baz Luhrmann as well, and then focusing on Priscilla maybe, and how the public perception like did that. That's Tar. And it does that with a fake person, so it's not attached to anyone. And for that, it's like it might be the most interesting. No, no, that's not true. But it's one of the most interesting character studies of the year, because I do have some more character studies that are coming up later on. And anyways, Lachlan, I think your next pick is one that kind of blends. Wait, did you just say what it is?
I said it was dope.
It was dope. Okay, well, that rhymes with the title of the film. But it's from Jordan Peele. Nope. You know, that director really is able to blend the artistic side with a blockbuster side. Really uncanny and not really done before that way, other than what I can think of, like someone like Spielberg does it that well. And that's Jordan Peele, and he's back again with his third film, Nope. Honorable mention for me as well, a bit further down my list. But Lachlan, it's your number 6 pick.
It is. Is 2022 the year of the blockbusters? Like, it is the
return of the blockbusters.
Is the blockbuster cinema coming back? Because if it is, I am so fucking keen for it. Which, I mean, if we start to discuss our upcoming 2023 most anticipated films, there is a number of big blockbusters coming out. So maybe 2023 is the year of the blockbuster. I won't get into it, but Nope.
Oh,
Absolutely
Nope on 4K.
excellent. 4K collector's edition. No steelbook, unfortunately, but the collector's edition. The disc even has their faces on it. A lot of 4K discs don't have any kind of stuff on it, which is unfortunate. They just have like usually one color, but whatever. Anyway, Nope was probably my favorite horror movie of the year, as I talk about feelings in the cinema going experience. It was the only horror film where I experienced genuine anxiety. And it was one scene in particular where someone is abducted, or at least a group of people are abducted by the ship, and you see them inside. And if you've seen the film, Ewan, you know the scene. It is genuine. It is genuinely one of the most uncomfortable moments I've experienced watching a movie. It was claustrophobic, which I don't get claustrophobic. It was sound. Every part of that scene was just perfect to a T. And every part of this film was also wicked. I didn't think Jordan Peele could outdo Get Out, but the more and more I think about Nope, I think that it's the best film that he has made so far. It is
really okay.
In my opinion, some of the best performances, some of the best moments. It's not as iconic in I guess the twist of it all. And it does seem to lose itself in the end. But I find that the grand scale of Nope was enough to kind of push it through past its weakest points. So number 6 for me goes to Jordan Peele's first horror movie shot in IMAX, I believe. Am I getting that wrong?
Yeah. No, I think it definitely, I was supposed to say first horror film. It's like, what? He definitely has made horror films before. But yeah, I think that's true. I mean, the cinematography is a big part of it. That's why, like, Hoyde from, I'm blanking on his name, but that cinematographer is almost like a character in the film. You know, there's a cinematographer character in it, and it's very much about like capturing stuff, and such a movie about filmmaking as well, and a great cinematic experience. Like you said, it's a year of the blockbuster that comes back. Lots of exciting flying stuff this year with Top Gun and Nope.
First horror film to be filmed with IMAX cameras. Boom, there you go.
Okay, well, I didn't know that it's also like the first horror film to do that, which makes sense, because they're usually not this big blockbuster films. And if anyone can do it, it's Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
Next up, we got a film that we'll get to talk about in a second again. I got Kogonada's After Yang at my number 6. Lachlan, for you, that will pop up further down on your list. So we'll both talk about that one once we get there. A little bit of a spoiler, yeah. But what's your number 5? Already throwing it back to you.
Here I am once again with another blockbuster. What a shocker. But this was one of the earlier films in the year, which kind of took me by surprise. And I thought it was going to be my blockbuster of the year. It wasn't very long until that got taken down by Top Gun Maverick. And then it wasn't for a while after that it got taken down by a film that's coming up. However, you can't deny the moment in this film. Look at this steelbook. Look at this steelbook. Yeah. It's still not as good as the Bullet Train one, but the moment in this film where he gets in the Batmobile and that engine starts up, everyone in the cinema loses their mind. Literally everyone in the cinema loses their mind. This is not the first time you've seen a Batman movie, and it's not going to be the last time you see a Batman movie, but there was just something special about this Batman film that made it feel like none other. It wasn't the same as The Dark Knight, and I think that a lot of us hold The Dark Knight in a very high standard, but if you go back and watch it, there's still a lot of plot issues. It's not a perfect film, but I think due to the fact that it has one of the best Joker performances, a lot of people will skim past the rest of that film. But The Batman is my favorite Batman movie. I'm saying it. This is a fact.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Stamp of approval right here, right now. I think it's it is my favorite Batman movie. It was such a thrill ride to not have the Joker be the main villain for once, especially after having some pretty shitty Jokers and also having some pretty shitty Batman villains. Paul Dano is incredible as the Riddler. You have Colin Farrell, incredible as Penguin. And you have, obviously, Robert Pattinson as Batman. And that was also quite a shocker. Even though a lot of people were against it, I think that he came through and did an incredible job. I still can't decide which Batman's my favorite because I think each Batman is very unique in different ways. I think that Christian Bale is the perfect Bruce Wayne. I don't think he's the perfect Batman. I think that Ben Affleck is a great Batman, but a shitty Bruce Wayne. But I think that Robert Pattinson is the closest thing that I have that it's balanced in both sides because he's a young Batman and he's a young Bruce Wayne who's still trying to establish himself. He's not the billionaire playboy. He's not the Batman that we know, and he can mold it into the character that we might not have ever seen before, which is perfect on both sides. So I'm very excited to continue on in this Batman universe that has been at least not shut down yet by the new DC overlords, which is good to know.
Yeah. 2024, I think we're getting a new one.
The sequel.
At least that's the plan. Hopefully, yeah.
So it's good that they're not going to shut this down because it is probably one of the first good DC films in a long time. Speaking of long time, it is a very fucking long film. One of the films in it's probably one of the only films this year where I definitely felt the runtime, even though there is a longer film in my list. It's probably the only one that makes me feel the runtime, as I do believe the last act, or at least the last 10, 20, 30 minutes where he kind of goes back into the stadium, it kind of feels like the movie should be over by now, but that's my only gripe with the film. I still had a wicked time. Cannot wait to see a next one.
I'm curious to see if The Flash, because that's supposedly coming out this year, I think in June or July, if it's happening. Michael Keaton is back as his Batman, just grown up. If that one will make an impression, it's obviously not a Batman film, and they're not going to continue that side of the story, unfortunately, with like something like Batman Beyond or whatever, which he would have been perfect for. But a great film, visually, the soundscape, just a great cinematic experience. And like you bring up the runtime, I feel like this has been the year of long films. We have Babylon, we have there's Avatar, there's Batman, All Quiet on the Western Front was quite long. Decision to Leave was long. Tar is quite long as well. The Fabelmans, it's just been a whole bunch of these really, really long films.
Yep.
And I'm down for it to be cut down a bit more, but I guess a lot of directors are getting to put their full vision on screen, and that one doesn't conform to like a 90 to 100 minute runtime, I guess, which is fair if we get something like Batman. And I guess speaking of full artistic vision, my number 5 pick is another one that pops up later on your list yet again. So another spoiler for Everything Everywhere All at Once. My number 5, we'll talk about it in a bit, and I'm throwing it back to you yet again to another man.
Wow,
but
it's
this
me
time
again.
He's talking about the man up in the north from Robert Eggers. He's moved away from the lighthouse and from the witch, and is bringing you another somehow blockbuster version, the most blockbuster that Robert Eggers can go and will never ever go again, because this movie was a complete bomb at the box office, unfortunately. But The Northman, your number 4 pick.
The Northman. Here it is.
Yes.
The collector's edition 4K. My God. You were saying this just before, like people being given the creative vision and just allowing them to do whatever the hell they want, and that's what some studios are letting Robert Eggers do. And I want that to keep happening, because this film was spectacular. Every single one of his films is spectacular. We just need more Robert Eggers. This was from moments that I heard he was making a revenge film based in the Viking Age. I was so damn excited because hearing just the little bits coming out of it, seeing the little set designs leak, hear the fact that he was making his own book, like an idea book, because there was so many things he wanted. The scale of this film was bigger than anything before. I was just so excited. And then to watch this film on screen was just an absolute joy. It was fun from the beginning to the end, especially the end. It was just probably, and I'm going to say this now, the best ending to a film in 2022.
Yeah,
the most cinematic.
Star Wars Wishes episode 3 ended that way.
It was absolutely gorgeous, and you cannot deny the talent that's in this film. I'm just going to read off the list on here. You've got Alexander Skarsgård, you've got Nicole Kidman, you have Claesbang, you have Anya Taylor-Joy, you have Ethan Hawke, Borg, and also Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe.
Come on, man. You cannot deny that is a wicked cast. I just adore Robert Eggers, and it was hard for me to keep putting this lower because originally this was in number 2, and my number 2, I completely forgot about my number 2 when I was adding it in because it isn't technically a 2022 film, so I didn't have it in my 2022 list when I was just spamming all these 2022 films in, because it technically came out in 2021, but worldwide release 2022. But we'll get to my number 2 shortly. But it kept being put down a little bit, but it just could not get past the Batman. It just could not. It was spectacular. I am so disappointed that it was a flop at the cinemas because it was, again, one of those moments where I walked out of the cinema going, fuck, that was an excellent experience going to see that on the big screen. I've tried watching it a second time at home, just didn't have the same experience. I did watch the final scene though, and that was absolutely spectacular. But I feel like this is one of those films that is made for the big screen. So yeah, that's why The Northman is my number 4.
It's my number 12 pick. It just barely didn't make it into my top 10. I considered bopping either Triangle of Sadness or The Whale further down. It could totally be my number 9 spot. And I champion the film. If you haven't seen it and you like this type of epic tale with a lot of like gruesome action that doesn't really hold back, it's also a film that blends character study with incredible action when you get this really hurt character who's set on revenge, and then it's ultimately about the revenge not going to be fulfilling for him, but he cannot get off this trail. He's kind of setting his own fate. What an incredible ending. Might be the best ending of the year, in my opinion, other than maybe something like the whip up part in the Fabelmans. What an incredible film. Go check it out. Unfortunately, you cannot anymore in theaters, but I agree. This was, to me, one of the highlights of the theater experiences of the year. Okay, Lachlan, the overlap in our lists has ended, and I am moving to a film that you ended up talking about before that I'm really bummed that didn't make it onto your top 10 list, but Martin McDonagh's The Banshees of Inisherin is my number 4. We just recently had a discussion in last week's episode about the film, so I guess you can get our full-on thoughts on it here. So I'm not gonna go like full into the film here yet again, but it's just a really pleasant surprise. It's my favorite comedy of the year, because Everything Everywhere All at Once is, I got it higher here. So Banshees of Inisherin, my favorite comedy of the year, stamp of approval from the Quiet on Set podcast, and just a fun ride to go on. Great writing, amazing performances. Go check it out. It's out on VOD, readily available to you. Lachlan, quick one. Handing it back to you for your number 3 pick. We got the last big blockbuster on your list.
So. And the best
I'm so surprised.
I'm so of the surprised. Year. Are you surprised this is on my top 10?
I'm so surprised.
So am I.
Yeah.
Because it was the best blockbuster experience I had all year. 100%. I was so shocked that it made it onto my top 10. And I was so shocked that I liked it more than I did because I was shitting on the original, being like, it did not culturally change us as a society. No one remembers it. But I'm going to remember Way of Water for being the best cinematic experience of 2022. And I guess that's what it would have been like if I got to see the movie in cinemas in 2009 with the original. Avatar: The Way of Water, ladies and gentlemen,
you weren't born yet.
My number.
Sorry,
I'm 9 years old right now. I'm not 13 years old right now. Sorry. This film was a shock that I enjoyed it so much. It's the reason I love movies, is that you can make a world like this and it can be as actiony as this. And sure, it's got some really dumb plot points and it's got some really stupid writing in it. At least it doesn't have the really bad voiceover as often. But Avatar: The Way of the Water is my shockingly number 3 pick of the year. It should be on everyone's top 10 list, because if you did not have a fun time watching this film, I don't know what's wrong with you, because this was the most fun I had in cinemas all year. I was losing my mind. There's a really boring part about, I don't know, halfway through the 7-hour runtime of this film, but like, it's such a great film no matter what.
Do you want to guess where it ended up on my list?
100.
You're close. 112.
Oh, so close.
Well, out of 320 movies, I guess, to justify it. It's not like at the bottom of it there, but I just didn't really connect with it as much as you did. But it's undeniable that it's a great cinematic experience, and keeps pushing it to different ways with holding on to 3D, the high frame rate. We both don't have access to an IMAX theater anywhere close to us, but also that just heaps of stuff technically and also story-wise that are unique about Avatar. But yeah, man, I feel like going back and forth with my next pick, my number 3, is a nice tie over, because we do have two huge directors, Steven and James. You know, these two have made
Steven and James
long anticipated films. Steven Spielberg, in that sense that he tells a really personal story, one of his own coming of age as a filmmaker. He returns as a writer for the first time since Kubrick handed him AI, you know. So it's been a long time, and he's not really typically known as a writer-director. The Fabelmans was such an experience that you can really see that it's this personal thing for him, and I just completely adored it. We also just got to do a recent review on that film as well, so go check that out to hear our discussions where we go into the details of every aspect of the film. Yeah, man, I just had a really personal connection. It made me motivated to finally get back to maybe creating a bit more myself instead of just talking about films all the time. It has had a big impact on me, and I'm a big Spielberg fan, so I cannot deny him a top 3 spot on my list. But Lachlan, for those of you who are really perceptive and know that there's 2 films that I skipped over, you know, there's 2 films left on Lachlan's list, so there's gotta be a bit of an overlap with the next one. So Lachlan, what's your number 2 film of 2022?
My number 2 is your number 6.
Yes.
After Yang.
You said it came out in 2021. I didn't even know that, but it premiered at Gun and then was playing at Sundance, and shortly after it came out on streaming this March. That's where we caught it. Yeah, man, talk about Kogonada and After Yang.
Man, I don't know. It's just this film was absolutely spectacular. I've never seen a Kogonada film before, and this was my first experience, and I'm shocked. I don't have a 4K, I'm afraid. I really wish I did, because this film was stunning visually. Absolutely stunning. Everything about it was gorgeous. I fell in love with Colin Farrell's acting ages ago, but seeing him as Penguin, and then seeing him in this, and then also seeing him in Banshees as well, really just reassures me that he's one of the most dynamic actors working today. He just has such a range that it's shocking to not want more of him? How is he not more popular than what he is? He's just a spectacular actor, one of the finest working today. And it's the same with Jodie Turner-Smith, also in this film. Absolutely spectacular actress. This entire film, after watching it, was one of the only experiences where afterwards I sat there and thought about, life and, what does it mean to be alive? And, this is, I talk about how, going to the movies is all about action, 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 but this is the other side of film. This is the old Lachlan coming out, where I was like, I want to make movies to tell stories and have feelings and emotions, and exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting that all of my previous choices have been Top Gun Maverick, Top Gun Maverick action, Prey action, Athena massive action, Fire of Love, a doco that's very violent because it's about volcanoes. Nope, another crazy horror film. The Batman, an action movie. The Northman, an action movie. Avatar, The Way of the Water, just a massive blockbuster. And then you have After Yang. And it's kind of just a massive left turn on my top 10. But it's spectacular storytelling, and it wasn't my fastest 5-star rating. It probably was it was a 4.5 when I first did it, and then I bumped it up to 5 after sitting on it for a day, because the fastest 5-star rating I gave this year was the next film. But After Yang, I cannot suggest it enough to anybody to pick it up and watch this film, because it's also interesting in the one sense, in one way. I want to point this one out because I found this entirely interesting. There is a plot line that you expect the film to go down when there's a character that's talking about, spying and the secret governments and shit like that, and it never goes there. It's kind of just like here it is, and then they never bring it up again. And it takes such balls for a director to kind of, suggest, we're going in this direction, and then they go in the complete opposite. So, Koganaga has my seal of approval of excellent storytelling material. After Yang is my number 2.
What an incredible film to have there. It's one of the rare films that, because I watch 320 films, I have to prioritize which one I give the time. Although you joke, I do have a lot of free time. Ends up not being that much free time when you watch multiple movies a day. It got the rewatch treatment shortly after. I think I've seen it like 2 or 3 times now. And just those moments where we get to see moments replay from different perspectives. That filmmaking, I've never seen done that before. In that way, that effectively.
It's
and
gorgeous.
It is beautifully touching. It's such a somber little movie that, like you said, takes turns and doesn't over dramatize or try to make something bigger out of this world than it needs to be. It really stays small with its characters. It has some of the, I guess, a bit more when it comes to the awards, I guess, undervalued performances of the year. But overall, we do have, on our top 10 list, we have 3 films that Colin Farrell starred in. Also the 3 out of 5 total. I've seen 4 of the 5 films that he starred in this year. Total, he's done a lot, but he's just done quality stuff. The only film that didn't pop up on a list is Ron Howard's 13 Lives, which was quite okay, but he's not that big a role in that. He plays a real guy. He's amazing in After Yang. And I don't know, between the Banshees, which is a bit more eyebrow acting and more stuff, and then the full-on prosthetic stuff in the Batman, here he's just this father. He tries to care for his family, he's trying to connect with his wife, and he's trying to connect with Yang. And it's beautiful. This movie is beautiful. Not that it's particularly sad, but you just watch someone's memories, and I noticed a tear coming down my eye. It's like that type of film. Beautifully captures what life is in a sense, and Yeah, that's your number 2 pick and my number 6. Let's move on to my number 2, which is a close second to my number 1. It ended up being the number 1 spot for the majority of the year. One that played at gun, I missed it there, which it has in common with the next one. Then I caught at a convention in Locarno, and I'm mentioning this because I went to this convention for the cinema that I work at. Distributors show their movies a bit earlier to see like if it's the vibe for our theater. Are we playing this movie? And fuck yes, we are playing this movie once it comes out. It hasn't come out yet. It hasn't had like a big release just yet. So it's technically a film that can pop up on my 2023 list again. But Close is a little Belgium film that completely took me off guard. And at that convention, we had a conversation about someone in our team is vehemently arguing that film is losing all of its identity, that every film that is made, he's way more critical than I am of it. I think he's going overboard with it a tad bit, but he said that like most of the films have no reason of existing because they're not artful, and he feels like anything that is just commercial shouldn't overall exist. And I would argue, well, there's more than enough reasons that commercial films should exist, but I get the argument that like identity is stripped away from it. And then shortly after our discussion, we went to see Close, and at the end of it, I got up, had tears on my tears running down my face. He was like on the other side of the theater. I looked at him and said, "That's fucking cinema." And that's what Close is. It's this really emotionally engaging story about two 13-year-old boys who share a bond. Maybe there's more to it, maybe there's not. And then something impactful happens in their lives. And you just see the ripple effect that it has on every single person. I feel like the reason I took it off its number 1 spot is because it is really dramatizing trauma in a sense. And it's probably one of the best films I've seen that do ever. And I ended up crying like a record amount. And like to me, is if a movie really makes me cry, it ends up being one of my favorite films of the year. That's just kind of how I'm wired. So that's Close. Go give it a try once it comes out, Lachlan. I know you haven't seen it. I think it's not going to be totally up your vibe. I could see it be in your top 20 possibly, but not really one for you. It's just like this really was a movie made for me. So yeah, go in with that warning, I guess.
So after all of this conversation, fuck, it's been a long recording.
Yeah, it's a long one today.
Number one film of the year. I saw this one coming as soon as I saw it. As soon as I saw this film, it was the fastest 5 stars that I gave it, and I immediately knew it was going to be my favorite film of the year. And it was really hard to top it because it's basically everything I want in a movie. It was so much fun, and it was telling a wicked story, and more importantly, the comedy was just right up my alley. Then after learning that the directors didn't know if they were ever going to get to make a movie again, they just wanted to squeeze every little bit that they could in. This made me like this film so much. So the Daniels won my heart in 2022, and with their film Everything Everywhere All at Once, I selected it as my number 1 movie of 2022. I know it's Ewan's number 5, and he obviously is a bit more of a film guy, so that's why he's got Banshees. That's why he has the Fabelmans close, and then his next film up after Everything Everywhere All at Once. But for me, this was just the perfect mixture of everything I wanted out of a film in terms of dramatically, in terms of blockbustery, in terms of comedy, in terms of just wicked performances, cameos. In a way, it has a bit of everything, and it has some of the most heartwarming moments I had in a cinema, and some of the most laugh out loud moments I had in a cinema. So for me, the most immediate 5 star, and as I look across the Letterboxd activity from my friends, it is one of the most positively approved.
Number 13.
4.5, 4 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 4.5, 5 stars, 5 stars, 4 stars, 5.5, 5 stars from almost everyone who's watched it. It's got a 4.4 on Letterboxd. It is just such a amazing film. Sorry,
it's also got
I was talking about it so much that I forgot that I have it
Yes,
on 4K.
you do own it.
Oh,
Which
man,
unfortunately isn't the best poster to choose for the Blu-ray. 'Cause
Oh
I
god,
think
no.
the
The
original
art is
it's
so
so
cool.
good. Oh my god, it's incredible. And also I think just recently became one of the few films on Letterboxd, I don't know how many there are, to cross 1 million logs on it as well. And to be
Wow.
that popular and then number 13 really shows you that there's universal love for this film. It's I think becoming one of the front runners to take home Best Picture, and I would champion it.
I would.
The other, I guess, things going up against it are maybe the Fabelmans and Banshees. And
Yeah.
although I do have them higher here, I would definitely love to see all the awards go to Everything Everywhere All
Yeah.
at Once. An indie darling from not an established filmmaker making it all the way up there. That's inspiring and it's fucking amazing. And I had to chuckle while you were talking because there's certain sex toys that pop up in there's certain
Yes.
toys that pop up in the film that had some of the best laugh out moments for me as well. It was a movie where I usually hate that guy, but I was that guy who was clapping in the theater. And I was oh fuck, I love that. It was really loud as well. The whole theater was and I was chuckling because I just looked off and saw my cat play with the sex toy, and I thought it was the perfect moment. The perfect moment. We're talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once, and somehow they snagged something and were carrying it around. I definitely have to take that away from them. So that's me oversharing.
Jesus.
Just thought it was perfect at this moment to have it right here. But yeah, definitely the movie of the year, if you probably ask a whole bunch of people. So glad to see it represented at the very top of your list. That 2001: A Space Odyssey moment as well had me
So
howling.
good.
I think it was probably the hardest and the loudest I've laughed all year. It really was amazing to see. That's your number one. It's not my number one. Close to it though. My number one. I got another really critical darling. To me, this is a toss up of actor of the year. Obviously, actress of the year to me would go to Jenna Ortega for the year that she's had. But to me, between Colin Farrell and Paul Mescal, there's a toss-up there because my number one pick is Aftersun, the directorial debut from Charlotte Wells. I just rewatched this on Christmas Day, and it with my whole family, and made me cry again. That's the criteria for my top films of the year, I guess. And it's so beautifully touching. It worked so much more, even though I already loved it on my first watch, with the kind of foreshadowing that you get with the dancing with her dad. If you haven't seen it, really, it's out on VOD. Go give it a try. It's a really slow film that maybe some people aren't going to connect with it, as we talked about so many blockbusters and big event cinema. But also the really subtle, small stuff has been so great this year. And Aftersun is just the pinnacle of that. And I think I'm already making a statement. That's why I put it over Close. I think we're not going to be talking about Close in 10 years. We're definitely going to be talking about Aftersun in a decade. So my pick, my movie of the year, Aftersun. So, Lachlan, we've been here for a while. I don't know. We've coming up on almost a 2-hour long recording. I don't know how long this episode will end up being, or how much I get to cut out of us rambling. But let us know what your top 10 was in the comments below, and some stuff that you'll be watching from our picks. But that's it for today. There's not really much that's releasing as the new year starts to roll in. The only wide release we got in the States is Megan, the horror film. January is kind of known to be a bit of a dump when it comes to movies, stuff that isn't relevant to come out just as the year closes is kind of pushed to January. But we also got some quite promising stuff coming up for the rest of the month. The Last of Us TV show is coming out next week. The first episode for that. We'll give that a try and let you know if it's worth checking out. But some of these films that haven't premiered yet for you locally, you might get in January or February. So still have a look at the theaters to maybe even get in the cinematic experience for some of these we can really put our word behind that being worth it. But Lachlan, if you had to send people somewhere off to their room, their theater, to go check out a film, what would you pick for them?
I think it's just got to be the shocker of my most recent watch, Fire of Love. I feel like everyone should just go watch it. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. I feel like it's going to be missed by a lot of people. It's on Disney Plus. You can see it if you've got that streaming service. It was just a wicked experience, and you might not even want to just listen to it. I mean, actually, you could just listen to it. You could just listen to them talking, but you could also just turn it off and just watch it in the background, and it's just got some stunning cinematography. So, Fire of Love, everybody.
Great pick from you. I'm just being pretty straightforward here. I'm picking my number 1 pick, Aftersun, out on VOD now. Go give it a try if you want to. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Next week, like I said, there's not too many new releases, and we won't be talking about Megan. I might end up catching it, probably at some point, but it's not going to be the main theme of next week's show. We're torn between some of the films we missed. We'll decide internally what we'll be watching. Could be White Nose Broker, Decision to Leave. Maybe get Lachlan to watch Aftersun. I don't know. We'll see, but check back in next week. But if you don't want to miss new episodes of the show as we go over the 2023 releases as they release, then don't forget to subscribe and maybe leave a like as well if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, drop those lists down below as well, and go check out Lachlan's list and my list. They are linked as well in the description. And yeah, man, really looking forward to chatting with you throughout all of 2023. Lots more to come on the channel, and looking forward to it. So we'll be back next week. Hope you had a good start into the year, and we'll see you soon.